Board of Commissioners, today's date's June the 5th. It's 5:15 p.m. Joanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ernst.
Here.
Commissioner Engel,
Here.
Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang. Commissioner Wright is absent this evening.
State your name and address for the record, and the floor is open.
Good afternoon, Larry Fairman, 1495 Southwest 13th Street. I currently serve our community as the president of the Soccer Association of Boca Raton, better known in our community as SABR. SABR is a 501c3 organization. We are funded by participation fees and managed by a volunteer board of directors. As our community has grown, so has SABR with it. We're comprised of four primary areas: SABR Recreation, Team Boca, which is our selector travel program, which has won 2 national championships, and hopefully we'll be adding to that trophy case this summer. Top Soccer, which at our last meeting or in February meeting, we recognized Lynn Hurley for her service to Top Soccer, which is for our children and young adults with developmental disabilities, and our adult program, which provides for 18+. Our guiding principles, I think, fall in line with the Beaches and Park District. Play soccer for the fun of the game and the camaraderie that comes with it. Make soccer available throughout our community to teach children and adults, regardless of their skill level, and be a community-based volunteer effort that provides excellence to our friends and neighbors. Our largest and most recognizable program offers the opportunity for about 2,000 kids from our community to play soccer, ages 4 to 18 years of age. To support this program, we engage more than 250 volunteer coaches in service to our community, and we have just under 70 sponsors for our recreational league. Over the past 3 years, we've expanded to offer a smaller spring program, which runs at about 25% of our participation. Top Soccer, which I know you are aware of, is our program for intellectual, emotional, and/or physical disabilities. We engage over 180 participants over 9 weeks, and accompanying those participants are about 200 volunteers, many of which are high school kids in our community, which get community service hours. Our adult program has over 600 unique restaurants from 19 years of age to over 70, and they play year round. We each have gender-specific and co-ed activities. I would be remiss not to mention the relationship we have with the city's Rec Services Department and the Beaches and Parks District. And while we are self-funded in a 501c3, our relationship with the city and the district is symbiotic. We started a youth program, SABR After School, 3 years ago to engage children from 4 to 18 years old to expand their skills through training and small-sided play. While there were private organizations in the community that offered this previously, we took this opportunity to provide this to the kids in our community at what is a really no-profit cost and makes it even more accessible to our community. This program has become a game changer, and what started out as a pilot had over 1,000 participants, unique participants, over the past year. It helps kids build confidence, teamwork, and other soft skills that are important not just in sport, but in life. Soccer is a growing sport, with Inter Miami FC and its affiliate Fort Lauderdale CF down the road, along with the World Cup coming to our area in 2026. The current population of our city and the number of families moving to our city will increase the demand for participation. At its core, our program is about community engagement. I know that futsal is on your agenda this evening. While futsal is currently being met in some degree by private entrepreneurs in the area, SABR wishes to put our support behind a futsal program here in the city of Boca Raton to make it more accessible to our residents, not only for children, but it's also a growing sport for adults. And so as I hope that as you consider this proposal, you will continue your confidence in the Soccer Association of Boca Raton to assist this community provide accessible, diverse intergenerational community development to engage our residents within the city and the Beaches and Park District for this growing sport. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Art Turple, 19155 Fair Lawn Way. I'm here for my original love, which 40 plus years of soccer. I got Raul here spying on me to make sure I don't say anything bad about my other love, which you all know and have heard from me before. I want to thank you all first off. Larry set the table of remind you who Sabre is. We're here to talk about futsal. And what is futsal? Futsal is a small-sided soccer game that's played indoors or outdoors on a hard surface. And it originated in Brazil, and arguably the Brazilians are one of the greatest soccer cultures and soccer teams in the world. And they believed in street soccer. That's how they started. And that's futsal is a outgrowth of street soccer, and it teaches skills. It teaches the same game in a smaller way. About 3 years ago, Sabre decided to get into futsal, and hopefully in a big way. Well, what we learned was we had a lot of people that wanted to do it, but the facilities were difficult to find. And to the credit of the tax district, I've got to tell you, we've spent about the last year, especially trying to squeeze our way in over at Sugar Sand Park. And I know you know this, but you know, we are over there, and I'll just give you a little idea of we're competing with volleyball, dance, ring dance, gymnastics, fencing, Boca hoops, pickup basketball, and the largest user, but they only use it during the daytime, is pickleball. And it's a wonderful facility. And I would love to be part of the 2 indoor courts there, but there's just so many other uses that are, and all these things are great for the community. So it came to us at a possibility of working with a tax district of possibly converting the ice rink to a multi-use facility. And it is almost ideal other than being outdoors. So we have the weather issue, but other than that, we can put 3 futsal courts on there. We presently have 1 day a week at Sugar Sand, and we're able to work with about 30 to 40 kids. We put out an informal survey of soccer, of Sabre and Team Boca, and we had 400 responses of players that wanted to be part of futsal. And it's the only way we can do this is if we're able to get these courts and have multiple courts with multiple days of use. So I hope you will understand the need. And as Larry told you, the commitment that Sabre has made to the community here for 40, actually 50 plus years, some of us have been around 40 of them, that there is a need. There is players from 5 years old to 7 years old, as Larry said, that want to be part of futsal. And as our community has become more diverse, especially with the Latino community, they love futsal. And so we have a lot of our players asking if we could provide that. So I hope you will take that into consideration tonight, and we appreciate any consideration you can give us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Christy Hartopoulos. I live at 2120 Northwest 25th Street, Boca Raton. And I don't have anything formal to discuss today, except for I am a product of Sabre and I'm a product of Team Boca. I grew up in this community and played with Team Boca my whole life. And now I have 3 children that play with Team Boca. So they started in Sabre. I coached them there. And now they've transitioned, just like we always hope, that that's the starting point. And then they can transition into to the Team Boca field. So I have 3 kids currently playing. And what I could say about futsal is that if I had that program back when I was just starting out and I was a Team Boca player, it would have made a major impact on my game. I know that for certain. Playing the game in small fields with the skill that you need to compete at that game, it would have definitely helped me. And I'm now in a position to watch my kids do some futsal, and we're doing futsal outside of the area. And we love to see it be brought into our city. And I'm seeing it improve their game. So not only is futsal a game in of itself, just like I would say pickleball is, I would say it's maybe not have quite as the rage as pickleball does in the country, but it's a growing sport and a game within itself, but it's also a massive complement to the game of soccer, the outdoor game of soccer. And so I think it would benefit it would benefit my kids, and it would benefit all the kids playing with Sabre, Team Boca, and then as the adults as well. It's a very, very fun sport. It's fast paced, and I would welcome it in our community. Thank you.
See, I don't know how you could have improved your game as it was playing at Duke as you did as a collegiate player. Yeah, futsal would have. I can't imagine you. Yes, but thank you, Christy. It's always good to see you.
Hi, my name is Harold Chaffee, 6200 Northwest Second Avenue. I'm the president of Keep Golf from Boca. I had we talked last meeting. We talked about the Lakewood drainage, as far as letting them take care of a lot of the drainage that was there. Then I started to think about a lot of different things. I remember in the beginning when we were going to do the golf course, we talked about the sound barrier that was along there. So a Sunday, what I do is I took a trip over there. I walked the property, and it's if Lakewood, I really don't know what they're going to do. I think we need to find out what they're going to do and how much they're going to take. Because if they do what I've seen them do in other places, you're going to get rid of all the trees, all the invasive species. It's going to save you money naturally, but you're going to get rid of the sound barrier that's there because that canal is right up against the railroad. So you're going to have railroad and then nothing. And now the railroad at that point, if you stand there on the property where the canal is, the railroad must be 4 or 5 feet higher. Because you look for the train, you hear the train coming, you're looking, it's not there. You look up there and there's the train. So even if you tried to put up a sound barrier after, it's going to be very, very difficult. And when Wilma hit, the city basically removed all those trees, all the invasive species and whatever else is there. And it took 15 years to grow that back. And a lot of those trees are like 20, 25 feet high. They just about cover the tracks. I think we need to find out what they're going to do, what they're going to remove, and not create a problem. Everything good has a negative to it, And the other thing too is that, Robert did talk about foosball. He talked about free play. He talked about the tennis courts that are over by Bocatica, Ocean Breeze. I can forget that name. I really got to be losing my mind. Anyway, yeah, he talked about they're doing something on there because I think there's four courts, 6 courts, something like that. And they're just sitting there idle. Not that it's going to be a permanent place for them, or it might be. We never know. We don't know what we're going to do with the property. At least when we have 2 years to wait or more than that before we can do anything with that property on that side. So it might be a place to start something. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll just address that with the permitting process and anything you do on that west side where we have to get permission from downtown. It would be a lot longer involved process, but that's something that would not be, something that could be considered at futsal if we did that at Sugar Sand. It's like, probably 6 to 10 weeks before that would be done. And we could be playing permitting, how that goes with downtown. And I want Brianne to address the other question you mentioned about the foliage around the railroad track area.
Oh, I just wanted to address, I think you made a really valid point. We're starting the process, talking to them about the application. So when we do have those conversations, I know they left some things on Palmetto Park Road at one point. It looked really bad when they went in there and cleared all that out. So that's a huge concern. And I'm glad you brought it up because we'll make sure we include that in our conversation with them. Find out what's the plan. Can't go back and forth unless you're at the microphone. But we will address it with them when we have the discussions. There'll be a whole contract that will come before the board to approve before we go into anything.
Right, because what I've seen them before, they don't have no care. They don't care about anything. Whatever's there, big tree, small tree, whatever, they just rip it out.
Yes,
And then they leave everything just bare.
I saw it.
You
I
know?
saw it.
Yeah, so I'm just very concerned. I mean, nobody realizes the drop off in that property. I didn't realize it till I went back there.
No, you're right. I was back there recently. We took the new city council member over there, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's real strange. And that canal run, if it is, it doesn't even look like a canal, it's like a puddle, I swear.
Yeah.
But yet it's still a canal.
Yeah.
And it runs the whole entire length of the railroad over
Yes.
to Yamata. You know, that's a big area to lose.
Yeah, we're starting the process and we'll talk to them about that when we get into the discussions about what they'll do and make sure it's ironed out in the actual agreement. So there's no, going back on that.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Larry Milky, 6200 Northwest Second Avenue, Boca Raton. Just two quick things. I'm here always to remind you about safety and security on the new project you plan on putting over at Boca Chica. Giving us a boundary, a border, or whatever word you want to use between the park and our condominiums. And number two, last month there was a woman here that she mentioned, when you guys mentioned the naming of the park. And there was a woman that she came up with a great name, and I think it should be like on the top of the list, Ocean Breeze Park, because I was looking through this other stuff, Pineapple Park and this kind of stuff is just kind of weird. But Ocean Beach Park would be a very nice name, I think, for the park, being that it's off the ocean and we get the breeze. It just fits in with all the other names of the parks. That's it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the commission? Seeing no one, and there's no one online, I'll close the public requests and commissioners, in your packet, the minutes of the previous board meeting. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to be made? If not,
Move to approve.
been moved and seconded. Joanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Joanne. Motion's passes unanimously. First order of business is the futsal project at Sugar Sand Park, and I'll turn this over to Breanne for the introduction of this topic.
Commissioners, on page 5 of your agenda packets is an overview of the futsal project at Sugar Sand Park. Several meetings ago, Commissioner Rollins brought up, as Mr. Chaffee mentioned, converting those old tennis courts into futsal courts. After staff had a chance to review that and look at, honestly, we've gone through the site approval process on Patch Reef. So we know that any sort of new site approval process at Boca Chica would be a very, very long process. And that would mean futsal courts maybe in 2 or 3 years if we pursued that. And I'm just being honest on the time frame. So we said, where else could we put this in our parks? And we have this roller hockey rink that's really being used primarily by open play roller hockey. And so we evaluated a surface that would go in there that could meet the needs of futsal, still meet the needs of the roller hockey players. It's actually a safer surface for all those sports. And as somebody who goes to a lot of skate parks nowadays with my kid, I would like to see all skate parks using this kind of a surface because it is safer for people on wheels as well. But this gives us a chance too to offer a new amenity in Boca that we don't have, obviously has a high demand, and we're hearing a lot of big numbers here that they have an interest in. So in your packets, page 5, just looking tonight for approval of this. Commissioner Rollins mentioned a 10-week. We have about a 10 to 12-week timeframe that this would need to get done. And then we would be able to, start scheduling and booking multiple sports out there. So tonight, just looking for approval of this project as presented.
We have some questions.
Yes.
I think it's great to get everybody out moving, kids, adults. I'm excited about this. I can't wait to see this addition to Sabre and to the rest of the community. Question, how many players to a side for each game? So how many can we accommodate on those courts? Okay. And when can we observe this, Art?
Futsal is 5-a-side play. Right now, we have Friday night at Sugar Sand. That's the night we've been allocated. So we've got one court, one basketball court, and we're playing from 6:30 to 8:30 on Friday nights. With young ladies out there this Friday night looking to play.
Thank you, Art.
Now it's inside the gymnasium at Sugar Sand.
I got a lot of thoughts on this, so I want to kind of discuss it openly. And first of all, I'm very, very supportive of everything that Team Boca has done. And I recognize all the effort from Top Soccer to Team Boca, the things that have been done in the community have been phenomenal. I was a coach, my kids were in Team Boca and had a lot of great experience. But the topic tonight is about futsal. And I think the topic is very appropriate. I think there is definitely a need. Okay, you've established that. The questions I have about futsal is about, are we rushing into something? So we're doing something out of budget cycle. We're adding another project on to the team to do. So we need to know that we have a budget for a reason to do things and to structure. So we're not spread too thin or asking people to go too thin on it. So, okay, we can work around that if that's what our priorities are. We're changing priorities of things and it's very expensive. This is $150,000 expense when the roller hockey rinks was just redone and redone again because there was a mistake done. And so I'm not sure that you're not going to have an influx of roller hockey people coming back here at the next meeting saying, what are you doing? How did you do this? They don't like sport court. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. But are we doing the right thing for the long term? And so I asked Brianne to put the map up there, and it's very small. I was hoping that we could see around the gymnasium of the other side of it that is a whole, to me, asphalt court that is useless. Now, I know that Team Boca not Team Boca, but Boca Hoops use it. But that was a designated area, I thought, for a future field house that we've never done. And the question I have is, if we're going to do this investment, should we just do it right and go for putting it in its own area, giving its own dedication? And more importantly to me is, who is going to run this? So give it to you, Team Boca. We'll give you every resource you need to do futsal, but you got to be the ones to run this thing and make it happen. Because if we're building it for just us, because we think it's a good idea, that's a bad decision because no one's going to come in and do it. Unlike others who come to us who said, hey, we want this, and they come to us from, that is the tradition of the Beach and Parks District. When they say they want a Gumbo Limbo, we funded it. When we need Team Boca, we gave you these things. So if Team Boca is saying we are the ones who want futsal and we are passionate about it and we will make this work, I'm all in. We'll build you double what you need. But I want to make sure we're doing it for the long run and that we're not just taking another sport, throwing it by the side. And if it takes, a few more weeks to do it right in the right location, I would propose we do it, and I really don't care about downtown city saying, it's going to take, this is unbelievable how long it takes to do any project here. And it's embarrassing. And it continues to be the same old thing. And I want to go through those projects that we haven't done. And I want to go back to them. And I'm hopeful that our July or August meeting, we're going to put on the top of those lists, all those things that are not the priority for the city to do. We're trying to fund and make things for the community. So Team Boca and everyone else has to go downtown and say, hey, look, I don't know why it takes so long. We've answered all your questions and we've answered them again. We want this done. So if futsal is a better facility at, the Boca Chica area, I'm all in on that because I'm tired of waiting for it. And to me, that whole lot that you talked about over there, Harry, it's a waste. And we've been kind of putting this off. And we got all these courts sitting around there. People came out there and put stuff down and we were told we couldn't do it. Okay, well, new council, new city management group going in. I think it's time to come back to them and say, let's do the right thing by the community and say, we got all these courts and we got all this demand. Even if it's temporary, it's still a better location. But I do believe we also have answers that are outstanding for disc golf to the person. And I want to have an answer to that one, before we come along and say, oh, we just shelved that project without a good answer. To come along and say, we're doing futsal when we haven't done this. We talked, so I do want to do futsal. I just want to take a little bit of time to make sure we're putting it robust, big enough, and we take consideration of the other sports. Is a big investment. So
Quickly, one of the things you mentioned was the roller hockey users. We did ask the city staff to reach out to them to let them know, hey, if we do this, how do they feel about it? They were very supportive of it, just because it is safer for them too. But you had a lot to say. That's my feedback just on that one item.
so we can unpack this in different parts. Let's do it thoughtfully is what I'm.
Well, let's thoughtfully address your questions, Craig. First of all, Sabre and Team Boca doesn't require a great deal of supervision. We have coaches, especially with Team Boca, that provide that supervision for any activities involved. In fact, if you were to go to the field house Friday, you would see the fact that we've got supervision there that runs the futsal. Mr. Turple is one that's undertaken the initiative to get futsal established in the community, and the 3 courts there will do that because it's an immediate fix. The advantage of futsal at this location is that there is city staff there as well, in case there's any conflicts, anything that might occur. So we have city staff. They're not required to supervise this. We have actually our Team Boca coaches. A lot of the coaches are compensated to do the job, and that's part of their duties to be there while the games are underway. Looking at and this is just the beginning. Whenever I've traveled down into Dade County and I go to a lot of the soccer complexes, probably at least, excuse me, at least a third of the complexes with futsal courts. So it's a sport that I heard about 8 years ago, and would occasionally see that, but the benefit that it provides, the soccer program and the kids in developing is immeasurable. And this is going to be something that not only the futsal can use, but also other like the inline skaters, Boca Hoops. The other side of the field house, Boca Hoops uses that. That's one of their primary courts during the season that starts in August and runs through, I guess, about November. And then talking to Dr. Forstadt just recently, they also have time on the inline court that we're talking about as well. So, and as Mr. Turple mentioned, there's about 400 kids, and once we get this program started, I think we're going to see more. And I would not rule out having another facility over at Ocean Breeze just to accommodate the adults that want to play this game. I think that the sport is growing. It's much like in the beginning we heard from lacrosse, and now we see what we've done with lacrosse. We've seen, we've listened to Raul and Art talk about pickleball, and now we're doing 18 courts. We started out with those 6 courts there at Patch Reef. So I think the demand will fill and continue to grow. And we're fortunate that we do have the field house. Maybe the next thing we should look at is a field house in that place where on the other side that's paved, where we do have basketball courts. But as far as in talking with Brienne, we do have the flexibility in our budget to make an amendment to put something like this out. And I'm not saying we're going to do this at the expense of anything else. I haven't heard anything further since that gentleman made a presentation about the disc golf, but I know there were some environmental concerns with the city. But I think that we'd be doing the community and the organization an additional recreational facility that I think that will accommodate not only the basketball, not only the inline skate, but also futsal and And I can guarantee you that there will be supervision just like you would have on whether you're at Spanish River, your Woodlands, or any of the other facilities that we play on. Our kids are out there, are supervised. They're not left to just show up and to play at a game. Steve, I had your hand up.
First of all, I want to thank all of you for your presentation today. Being on the Beach and Park District, as far as learning about new sport activities, has been a learning experience for me. Until I sat here, I never heard of pickleball. I heard about lacrosse because my daughter played it in high school, and now my grandson is playing it in high school. Futsal, up till I saw the agenda for this meeting, I'd never heard about it. I got an education tonight, for which I thank you. Listening to everybody and taking everything into account, this doesn't really, this kind of dovetails with the other activities taking place in the same space. It adds a new surface for that particular space, which makes it safer. And we're right here at the beginning where there is a need for a futsal space. And I know we have the money, we can accommodate the funding for this. So to me, I can't see any reason why we just can't go ahead with it. And, you know, and then I can say, well, hey, I was there at the beginning of the great futsal craze, like I was at the beginning of the great pickleball craze. Thank you.
Just want to kind of go back to what you said. So my understanding is futsal is currently used in the basketball on one court inside the gym right now, and it could be used in 2 courts. Is that, or is it competing with another sport that it cannot?
Space there. Art was going to raise his hand, but when he was reading off from the podium, he was talking about fencing and gymnastics and ring gymnastics. So there's no open space in there for that one night that they're getting right now, and they're sandwiched in, and that's just on one court. The other courts were busy. Is that correct, Art?
Well, okay. And so other nights of the week, there are no other nights that it's fully, so our shortage is on the gym. Really, that's the real issue here. So second thing is, you're going to add, if we do this, we'll add 3 futsal courts outdoor on the roller hockey. And the intent is to add it for one night for Friday nights.
No, no. I think they would like to have at least 3 nights outside, Craig. So, I mean, that's ideal. I'll give Mr. Turple an opportunity to answer your question. Yeah.
Thank you. Art Turple again, 1955 Fairlawn Way. First off, I must have not done as good a presentation as I thought I did. Futsal will be a Sabre program, just like Top Soccer, just like Team Boca, just like Sabre. So we absolutely will control it. We will supervise it. We will man it. So that answer to the one question. The second one is, no, we're not going through this for one night a week. We have one night a week where we can do 30 to 40 kids. We're hoping to get a minimum of 3 nights a week, and we're hoping to get that 12 months a year. And so with that, we will be able to do 400 to 800 kids and adults later in the evening. Some of these adults can play from Sugar Stand stays open at 11 o'clock. Some of them can play. We can't put a kid out there from 9 to 10:30, but we can certainly put an adult out there, and they will be in heaven to be able to play from 9 to 10:30. So yeah, we're hoping to have 3 full courts going every night of the week that we get, that we will share with the other. So in answer to your question, this will fulfill, and the 3 courts, 3 nights a week will allow us to do the 400 to 600 kids and adults we need.
Okay, that's good. I mean, you're having a larger impact with more, but we have to be sensitive to the inline rolling skating committee. And what are the dates, what are the times a week that are they out there?
I don't have their specific schedule, but we did ask the city staff to look at scheduling. And they've talked to Art, they've talked to the inline hockey. They've talked to Jody Forstad about Boca Hoops because those are the primary users. And I think there's a schedule that would work out to accommodate everybody. Roller hockey is not out there 7 days a week. So
Right.
I think they're out there 2 or 3 nights a week too. And then basketball needs it when they're in season. For a couple nights, they use a lot of practice. So they have a schedule worked out to accommodate everybody.
I guess I don't want to be surprised later to find out. I know that the roller hockey people are out there on for sure Sunday mornings, and I know they're out there 2 or 3 days a night a week.
Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday.
Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday. So it's 3 days is their total on it. And so that sounds like that could accommodate it. Okay, I mean, I'm on board, but I would say we're still not solving the real issue here, which is a field house. And so
We had
and I-
we had WZA looking at the field house plans that were done, I think prior to you getting on the board, we had some designs started or something like that to see if it work out there. If you want me to have WZA look at, do we have the space there for that second field house? We can do that and talk about that because it is a need. It's a need everywhere. It's a need, you know, even Brian from the YMCA said, do you guys have any space? Can you rent your gym out? And I said, no, we have no extra space in our gym. So it's a lot of indoor places are needed. So if you want me to have them look at that, at least evaluate it for the budget season and see if it could even fit at Sugar Sand, we can do that.
I think that's definitely a must on our budget discussions of things. And you're confident that the sport court structure is according to city staff. I mean, all I ask, Brianne, is that you reconfirm that, you know, the inline rolling hockey people are not going to come back here and say, you changed something, you took away my time, you did this. But I recognize it's a growing sport. We want to facilitate the greatest impact. And
They
sports,
contacted the context because the roller hockey is an open play. So the city doesn't have rosters or any sort of stuff that they have with the other organized sports groups. So they contacted the people that they do know that play out there that they were able to reach. Those people who responded were happy with the surface. In fact, kind of looking forward to it because it's, you know, safer for them, but
okay, as long as we're going.
so they don't have like a president of an organization to reach out to.
But it's a sport we want to support. We don't want to take it away from them. That's my point.
Just for the information for the public, as far as the supervision goes with Sabre, each coach or administrator who goes out and has contact or is on a field or will be involved with this has to go through a safe sport course and a concussion course and a background check. So the Soccer Association of Boca Raton makes sure that everybody out there is appropriate for the sport.
So Craig, one last comment.
So just because we've gone through this whole business of the lines before at Patch Reef, we will have lines that are kind of laid out in the sport court format for basketball, for futsal, and for inline roller hockey. It's going to have nets as needed for all those things. And the city is going to move all those things, and there's a plan, and we're not going to make it challenging to anyone. So I would only ask that if you do
Yes.
this, that you get approval from not just anyone from the inline road. There is one person who kind of leads the whole group. And that would be a good guiding measure to ask them, do they agree with this too?
Okay.
The discussion. Mr. Turnbull.
Craig, just to answer your question on that, right now, the courts are lined for basketball. The indoor courts that we use the basketball lines. so that you won't be, you may, you only might add in front of the goal something, but there will not be double lines. You'll actually use the same lines they use for their back lines and sidelines for basketball will be the exact lines for futsal.
There was a motion made by Steve and seconded by Susan Vogelsang. I'd like to call the question. Joanne, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you for you and your group for coming out. Christy, good to see you in regards to your family. Please open that discussion.
Commissioners, on page 14 of your agenda packets is a page from our investment policy, which we sent out to everybody last week. This is just one edit to the policy. This came out during our audit. Each of you have a copy of our annual financial report in front of you. It's posted on our website as well. It's complete. There was no management notes. Really good, clean audit. And I thank Joanne and Murph for getting all the stuff together for Grau and Associates. They did a great job again this year. It was such an easy process. One of the things they pointed out in our investment policy, underneath continuing education, we have the language in the event that we undertake investments, and you'll see that on page 14, other than those defined, the appropriate staff shall annually complete 8 hours. It's actually a statute that I have to do 8 hours a year. So it's not in the event of anything, it just is. So we're just removing that first line that says in the event the district and just writing the appropriate staff shall annually complete 8 hours, state requirement by chapter 18. So just tonight looking for a motion to approve this amendment to the investment policy.
To approve.
Second.
Discussion. Our treasurer is okay with it. All right, been moved and seconded and no further discussion. Joanne, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Ernst, Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Passed unanimously. Next item is the approval of payroll and invoices. I'll yield to the treasurer.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of payroll and invoices in the amount of $3,500,042,542,690.74.
Hearing none. Joanne, would you please call the roll?
Ernst, Commissioner Engel, Commissioner Rollins, Commissioner Vogelsang. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Joanne. Reports and discussions, Executive Director Brianne.
Thank you, Commissioner Rollins. Just a few items. Everybody got their budget books in front of them. This is the budget request from the city, a draft of it. So I'll be setting up meetings with each of you individually to talk about the contents. No big surprises. I anticipate a very smooth budget process again this year. We also got, as I mentioned earlier, the copies of the annual financial report, which is also available on our website to the public, anybody interested in reading through that. Today we got the permit for the sign at Ocean Strand. Very exciting. So the sign is going to go in this week. That's what I'm hearing. So fingers crossed that that's done. Congrats. I wanted to say congratulations to our city's ocean rescue leadership team, including our chief Clint Tracy, Captain Kevin Hughes, and Captain Jason Kirkwood. They were nominated for the 2023 EMS Service Award. So obviously that's a big award, a big accomplishment for them. They do a really good job keeping our beaches safe, and our beaches are getting busier and busier. And then finally, I just want to thank each of you for your patience with me in the last week and a half. I had the flu. I thought I was better. I wasn't better. And I especially want to thank, we're a small group. So when one of us goes down, the other two have to pitch in and do a lot more. And I really want to thank Joanne and Melissa Dawson for all their help last week, keeping things together while I tried to get better, get here tonight. So thank you all.
We're glad you're better. District Council.
Vice Chair, I have nothing this evening. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Commissioners, I'll start down there with you, Steve.
Then get better soon, Brianne. And thanks to the staff for pitching in. I'm good.
Chairman Rollins, I have a list.
Vice Chair, please.
Vice Chair, I wrote out a list, so I didn't forget anything. Let me start with kind of a question. If it is possible to move the July 10th meeting to July 11th, and I put that out there only because I will be traveling, and I know Steve, is that a problem? Or so you can't do it. Okay, so I most likely won't be able to do the July 10th meeting then. And I would just highlight that there's several budget items that we need to be focused on. No, but we got to spend some time just talking through these things, because this is our only opportunity really to talk through and prioritize things. So, and I lay that out there with a couple of the ideas is think about, and we don't have to answer it now, but I've thought through the things that we started with over the past few years, and much of it just takes so darn long, and it needs to get into the pipeline and get going quicker. And some agreement with priority with the city of why is it taking so long? Is it our shortage of just we're a limited staff? Is it? I don't think so. We're using third-party consultants, and everything kind of hits a long roadblock, and there's no accountability for it. So start with Ocean Strand. We did Ocean Strand. There is no master plan. I heard that in the city meeting. We're just putting a path down to the waterway. We're just doing a little bit of work here. Okay. Well, I, for one, would like to see an open field there. I'd like to see some bathrooms, and I'd like to see some level of parking and some kind of plan. So I think we should get going on that and get our consultants developing a plan for it. It's going to take some time and money, but let's finish it out. And I really don't like the idea of waiting for the neighborhood next to us to pay for the lift stations and stuff. This is our project, our land, and we need to give bathrooms for people. It's just the right thing to do. So I think that should be part of it. Number two, Sugar Sand. I would like an answer on disc golf, a firm answer. If it's a no because of environmental, why? And some pushback, because we really should be maximizing the use of the space, and that's a non-invasive use of space. I mean, the gentleman who was here said, demonstrated well enough the demand, demonstrated, we can do this. And really it was even just working around what's already there. And to me, it was a relatively easy ad. And there's a lot of empty space at Sugar Sand, and we should take advantage of it. So I'm a little, I think we just owe it to the community to give them an answer on it. And if we're not going to do it, that's fine. Let's just collectively say we're not doing it. We're dedicating it to Ocean Breeze location or somewhere else. Other easy things to do out there is volleyball at the beach. As my understanding of our colleagues at FAU had a terrific beach volleyball team, and yet we have no nets at our beach. I've asked this question a couple of years in a row. Where are the nets? Is it difficult to do? Doesn't seem like it's difficult to add a volleyball net to the beachfront. Can we please ask the city staff how to do that and how we could fund something like that? I think it would be pretty easy, and that's a good sport for the community and easy to do. So let's help them do that. And then I'd like to hear an update of the Gumbo Limbo Pipes project. We've done, we committed to over $3 million spend to it. It's gone kind of quiet. Brianne, do you have any information? It's fine if they're still evaluating what they're doing with it, but I think there is some level of accountability for us since we're funding it. Understand, is it done yet? When's it going to get done, and what's next?
They are working through water quality issues right now. I obviously was out last week, but I will follow up this week to see where we are with progress on that. I have not heard an update, so I'll find out.
Okay. So we just let them continue on working through it, but we want to finish that one out. And then on the budget, as we go through these items, I'd like us to consider some allocation for training. We took the investment part of it off of in the investment policy. It's a requirement, but I think there's a benefit to our group, our members of 3 people, to have some dedicated training. And I'm not talking about doing here's an online program doing something. I'm thinking whatever it might be that where the needs are, and they have to evaluate that. But to give them some professional time off training, whether it's at a university setting, we need to think that through a little bit, but put a little more time into it for them. So that we do that. And then finally, I was reading in the Coastal Star, which I really appreciate the Coastal Star. And the one benefit of being on this board is they send a copy to our home. Okay. And in the middle of the Coastal Star, there's an article about a PBSO deputy in the right place at the right time to rescue a swimmer. And the way I understood this, they're talking about the South Beach Inlet area, which is a county, a dedicated park. And unfortunately, the lady who went swimming, the way they manage it is they have looks like a volunteer network to, see if something's going odd or wrong. And fortunately, the volunteer network was very on their toes and said, there's an older person who's not coming back. And that person didn't come back. So fortunately, this person called the rest of the PBSO staff and arranged someone to go out and get her. But to me, it is just mind-boggling that we don't have a lifeguard there. And, I get it. This is the county's park, so it really can't be their, it's hard for one person in a little area. But it seems to me an ideal opportunity for the city, the county, and us to fund a lifeguard at that park. And it's just a common sense safety thing. And if that just means adding one more trained lifeguard from the city of Boca to be on a virtually city of Boca property, it's different, not our property, but I think we need to figure out how to do that so that there is safety, because as we all know, there are more people in this community than ever before. A lot of older people, they have Riptide on South Park, just like they have at Red Reef Park. And I think we could make a very strong case that they need a lifeguard there. And let's just make it easy. Give them the lifeguard. That's just to me, makes a lot of sense to do without trying to rely on a patchwork of volunteers to go out and do something when you could save someone's life. And so I would put that probably as one of the higher priority things to work through with the city and get rid of the red tape to make it happen one way or another. So that's it.
The question, how are we going to handle the agenda for the joint meeting? What are the subjects that are going to come up?
A great question. I think maybe that could be an agenda topic next meeting, to when all 5 of you are here to talk about what are your priorities for that meeting. I can certainly talk to the city clerk to see if the city has anything. I think probably an update on Boca Chica is warranted. And then we can talk about any other issues that you guys may want to put out there.
So I'll forever refer to this as Craigslist. But Craig, I can always count on you to come up with some really good ideas and some things for us to focus on. So you're a very thoughtful person with the things that you've proposed here. And I for one will make sure that we have an opportunity to discuss these things. I'm sympathetic to the South Beach issue, but that's boy, that could be a real challenge and at one time years ago, we thought about trying to make a pitch to the county to acquire that property because it's isolated, and it's a public hazard. There's current through there, during in that inlet, and you see people on the rocks there all the time fishing. And not a very safe place to be walking in. Somebody could very easily get hurt there, and then there's no way to administer first aid if they're there, late in the evening. I see people there a lot of times in the evening fishing. So, but thank you for those things. The one thing that I wrote down that we had not was not mentioned was the tower. So how that's coming along. I know didn't we get some successful bid on that? Yeah.
Supposed to start July 3rd construction.
Yeah. So I'm happy about hearing that, but I also think that you have some some ideas here that will certainly cover, some of these cost nothing, but just a little bit of elbow grease, like the volleyball, at the beach. And I know that FAU has, their sand volleyball, but at their beach, they go to Gulf Shores and they play their volleyball in the national tournament there on the beach. Their beach is a lot different than ours because it's wider, flatter, but still, I think you brought up some interesting ideas. I also am a positive supporter and appreciate the district for the benefit of Sabre in the community go along with the futsal. I think it'll be a nice additional amenity, but I don't think it'll stop there. I think it's going to grow to where we have other locations that might adapt to that. And, Ocean Breeze might also be an area. And looking at that and then looking at the timeline, like everything else, it just was, talking to staff, I think they came up with the right selection. And I'd gotten a phone call from Mr. Chaffee this afternoon. I know, I think Harold had mentioned he had talked to Sue about the east side of our property on the east side of Second Avenue and the buffer that the trees provide now for the sound barrier to the trains. And in talking to Brienne, I asked her to find out about what the plan was for that area and in our annexation or being annexed into the so that we can use their canal. We want to try to put in a requirement that we want to make sure we maintain that buffer from a sound standpoint. And the other thing that was brought up about that property too is the security. And I know, I'm not sure the gentleman's not here, but I know that's one thing that we'll definitely want to be aware of for the residents, the security both on the east and the west side of that property. So one more thing.
One more thing, staff has reminded me, I want to thank the city staff for including us in their CPR training. I unfortunately missed it, but Joanne and Melissa went through CPR training as a first responder training with the city staff. So they're prepared to save me if I go down. So I'm grateful for that. I will go through the training at another time. I unfortunately missed it during all this, but I want to thank the city staff for including us, and that was important to have.
Are there any, Craig?
Eka buffer thing. I think it'll be very enlightening to find out what Lake Worth tells us. I totally agree with Harold. They have a history of tearing everything down, whatever's there. And I would expect that they would do the same. So given that, I think what we can do is agree to help design the buffer the way we would like it. That to me, it's just a given. They're going to come through and gut the whole area and make it into a Lake Worth canal that has got nothing around it. But probably the best you can do to accommodate a nice middle ground is let us design the buffer with them, the new buffer that is not invasive, that is done right, and that will be hopefully better than what they have today. So.
Yeah, I'm sure Brienne has made note of that. Mr. Chaffee, if you'd like to say something, would you come up to the microphone? I'll be happy to open up for you.
My name is Harold Chaffee, 6200 Northwest Second Avenue. Listen, there is, if there's an alternative, if you don't want to give it, if Lake Worth drainage canal, whatever you want to call it, there is also a pumping station on their property. It's got a 12-inch casing that goes all the way down. It's right by the electrical lines that were there that they just put in across the property. And the only reason why we never thought about using that before was because it wasn't ideal for the grass that we were going to use for the golf course. But yet that was that's a big pumping. A 12-inch casing is a big casing. And the other thing too is there are poles set up on the beach, just a little bit south of the entrance where Red Reef is. They did play volleyball, but there's no net on it. So apparently there was something at one time, but it just wasn't maintained, or maybe I have no idea. Maybe it wasn't ideal. You have to walk a little ways to get to it, but I see a lot of these high schools and stuff like that. Even in North Carolina, they have all kinds of you know, they play beach volleyball, but it's basically just wooden stakes and they fill it full of sand and they play. But yeah, I'm surprised with the way where we are. We have nothing like that. It's crazy. It is. It's another sport. I guess we can fit someplace, right?
Thank you, Harold.
All right. Thank you.
Future agenda items that besides Craigslist.
Can we put the field house on there? Because that's the real issue here.
Yep.
You know, and if we're gonna do futsal, let's do it right, just like we did the Patchery pickleball. We really need to design it right, and then, you know, work with the city to prioritize all these things.
Anything else, Steve? Joanne, would you call the roll, please?
Ernst. Commissioner Engel. Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang. Motion unanimously passes.
Meeting adjourned.